Hey everybody, welcome to the real United States. And I suppose everyone knows at this point that we are having an election in the United States this year, and probably one of the most provocative elections in the history of our nation. Not really what I'm here to talk to you about, but everybody seems to be making hay, making videos, making money on the election cycle this go around, and what the hell, I should too, right? But what I really wanted to talk to everybody about is a lot of, I think, people don't fully understand the Electoral College. This is a process that we use for electing the president and vice president only here in the United States. And even a lot of people who live here, I would say the vast majority of people who live here don't really understand what the hell it is. And certainly if you're from a foreign nation that doesn't use an Electoral College, it's like, what the hell is that? So, Electoral College, well, it is an official term now, but it wasn't always. It is in the Constitution as a number of electors. In our presidential elections, which coincide, incidentally, it's the general election, we call it, every 4 years, we elect some of our representatives and some of our senators, but those are direct elections. Your vote counts 1-to-1, and whoever gets the most votes wins, end of discussion. Not so with the president and vice president. Those, we go to the polls and we cast our vote, but our vote is actually cast for an elector. And this is a person that then goes in December, after the November general election, and votes in our stead. The difference being is that whoever gets the majority of the votes in the state gets all the electoral votes from that state. Now, put your keyboards away. Don't start sending me hate mail. I didn't do this. Yes, it is possible to get the majority of the popular vote and still lose the election. Mathematically, it's still possible. Not prevalent, but possible. Okay, that's the way it goes. The way our Constitution is written, this is the way it works. It's the way it's always worked. If you hate it, don't tell me about it, because I can't change it. That would take literally an amendment to the Constitution. So, but how it works is that we go ahead and we vote for electors to go ahead and cast their votes for the president and vice president. The part of this that is really confusing, and there's a reason it's confusing, is because it's highly mathematical, is how many electors each state gets. And if you set up on election night, like most of us do, and watch this, you're going to see, there's 27 here and there's only 6 there, and like, what's this all about? The number of electors is directly tied to the number of senators and representatives that each state has. So those of you that are politically savvy go, oh, well, then there's 535 electors. No, there are 538 electors because of the 23rd Amendment. And the 23rd Amendment gave electors to the District of Columbia as if they were a state, but the least populous state. So the least populous state has 3 electors, 1 for each senator and 1 for the 1 representative they would have. And so there are 538 total electors. Now, the way the number of electors in a state is decided is, like I said, it's the same as the number of representatives plus the number of senators. Under the Constitution, we have 2 senators. You're guaranteed 2 senators. Everybody gets 2 senators. Representatives is a little more difficult. It's done by apportionment. And so it changes every 10 years with the decennial census. When the Census Bureau, and they are the people responsible for determining how many seats in the House of Representatives you're going to have, goes ahead and does a mathematical process called the Huntington-Hill formula. It was developed by Joseph Hill and then later worked on and enhanced by Edward Huntington. And it's this rather ugly little mathematical nightmare. And what it does is it says, okay, P is for the population, and N is the number of seats that you have before the allocation of the next seat. And then if you like recursive mathematics, it looks like this. So we go through this mathematical process, and this gives us the closest possible even distribution of representatives and electors that is possible. It's not perfect, but it is the closest mathematical process for evenly apportioning the seats relative to the population of the state. And of course that changes every 10 years as people move from one part of the country to another. And this is what happened with the last census, is we had a lot of people move out of some of the northern states into the southern or western states, perhaps driven by, climate or whatever, but that's the way it happened. And so some states gained seats in the House of Representatives and some lost. But we're stuck with 438 seats in the House of Representatives. That's by law. And so the number that each state gets shifts. So because of this application of the additional 3, because of the 23rd Amendment, this is why we set up and we go, okay, whoever gets to 270 wins the game, and it's over. You don't stay up and see if they get 275 electors, because once you get to 275, you've got a majority of the 538 game's over. So if there are also electors for both parties. So if you've got, say, 3 electors in your state, or 6 electors in your state, you would have 6 Democratic electors, you would have 6 Republican electors. Whoever gets the majority of the vote in that state gets all 6. And the ones from that party are the ones then that go to Washington and cast their ballots in December to actually technically go ahead and elect the president. So that's where this number of electors comes from, and why it may seem like it's not the same as it was, a couple of elections ago, because it does change every 10 years to some degree. And a lot of people dislike the Electoral College. They think it should be just a straight vote like it is for senators and representatives, and that's, fine, whatever. I'm not going to tender an opinion. Whether you think it should be or shouldn't be, that's your business, and I couldn't care less. It's just how it is here in the United States. And so when the election comes this fall, and you're wondering where all these numbers came from, it is from the Huntington Hill formula, and it is dictated by the U.S. Census Bureau. So I just thought I would take this opportunity to try and explain it to you. I'm not going to step you through the recursive mathematics of geometric mean statistics. That's how it works, and it does work. You can put this into a spreadsheet and put all the populations of the state in there and run it. It's pretty cool to actually do if you're into that sort of thing, like I have been known to do, but I haven't done it since the last election. And, the numbers would be the same because the next census won't be until 2020. So probably for the next election, we should have I don't know if we'll have the census numbers in time for the next election or not, or if it'll actually be the 2024 election where the seats will have changed. So, because the Census Bureau does need some time, of course, to go ahead and collect all this data and analyze it and run the Huntington Hill. And then the reallocation has to happen, and there's some seats that are lost and new elections that have to happen. So it'd probably be the 2024 election before we actually see a change in the number of electors from each state. So thank you for joining us here in the Real United States. I hope you've enjoyed this haphazard and brief explanation about the allocation of electors and the Huntington Hill formula. If you haven't already, I encourage you to pick subscribe and come along for the adventure. If you got questions or comments, I'll try and answer them. I will try. Leave them in the comment section below. I love hearing from all of you. I really do. And as always, thank you for watching.